When vanity becomes the culture, what the Real Housewives of Atlanta revealed about black wealth, gender, and the cost of success, one angry black MAGA general. There's a conversation about black America that we keep postponing because it is uncomfortable. We talk about racism, we talk about poverty, we talk about the prison system, we talk about absent fathers, we talk about failing schools. But we don't talk about what happens when a community begins confusing wealth with virtue. That is why I keep coming back to the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Not because reality television represents every black woman. It doesn't. And not because Nene Leakes or Sherry Whitfield should be treated as representatives of black womanhood. They shouldn't. But television can function as a cultural mirror, and Real Housewives of Atlanta gives us a remarkably useful case study in what happens when money, celebrity, competition, sexuality, status, and interpersonal conflict becomes entertainment. The problem isn't black women. The problem is what capitalism rewards when nobody asks whether the reward is morally healthy. The housewife as a capitalist hero. Think about the message. The bigger house, the designer clothes, the luxury car, the exclusive party, the famous friends, the expensive vacation, the ability to say, essentially, I made it. There is nothing inherently wrong with any of those things. The problem begins when having becomes the evidence of being. The wealthy person is assumed to be successful because she is wealthy. The famous person is assumed to be important because she is famous. The beautiful person is assumed to be valuable because she is beautiful. And eventually the moral question disappears. What kind of person are you becoming? That is where vainglory enters. Again, St. Thomas Aquinas warned about the disorder of seeking human glory as an end in itself. The Real Housewives of Atlanta sometimes looks like an entire economic ecosystem built around precisely that temptation. Nene and Cherie. Nene Leakes became one of reality television's most recognizable personalities. Her enormous personality, entrepreneurial ambitions, humor, and ability to generate memorable television made her a star. And her conflicts with Sheree Whitfield became part of the show's mythology. Their relationship repeatedly demonstrated how quickly friendship could become competition, and how quickly competition could become spectacle. Bravo itself has documented their deteriorating relationship and their repeated conflicts. Consider the famous Tyrone Gilliam's storyline. Nene questioned Cherie's relationship with him, eventually calling him a criminal and saying she wanted no association with him. Cherie's relationship history itself became part of the entertainment product. From her former marriage to Bob Whitfield and her relationship with Tyrone Gilliams and later Martell Holt. And there was Nene's famous explosion during an earlier conflict involving Cherie and Tyrone. I am very rich, bitch. That moment became television history. But listen to what the sentence represents. Not, I am a good mother. Not, I built something that strengthened my neighborhood. Not, I helped another black family escape poverty. I am very rich. The money itself becomes the argument. And that is precisely the cultural problem I am trying to expose. But let's not blame the women. Here is where I depart from the simplistic version of this argument. I refuse to blame black women for everything wrong with black America. That is intellectually lazy. And I refuse to blame those women for homosexuality in the black community There is no credible basis for claiming that reality TV women or black women's behavior caused homosexuality or feminized black men. That is not a serious sociological argument. What is worth examining is the way both men and women can participate in a culture where masculinity and femininity become performances for money, attention, and status. Men can become simps. Women can become status competitors. Children can become brands. And everybody can become a consumer of everybody else's insecurity. That is capitalism's genius. It can monetize the dysfunction, the black man as an accessory. This is where I believe black men have to look in the mirror. A man who willingly enters a relationship in which money, fame, and public validation become more important than mutual respect cannot complain afterwards that he has been emasculated. You cannot surrender your moral authority and then complain that nobody respects your authority. Black men don't need domination over black women. We need partnership. And partnership requires two adults capable of saying, money is important, but it isn't God. Fame is nice, but it isn't character. Beauty matters, but it isn't virtue. Success matters, but service matters more. The children are watching. This is where the reality TV culture becomes much more serious. Children don't simply hear what adults tell them. They watch what adults celebrate. If children repeatedly see adults rewarded for humiliation, conspicuous consumption, interpersonal warfare, and celebrity, they learn something. They learn that attention is power. They learn that wealth is identity. They learn that conflict is content. And they learn that being seen matters more than being good. And then we wonder why entitlement grows. The question isn't whether these particular television personalities are good or bad parents. We don't know enough about their private lives to make that judgment. The question is cultural. What happens when an entire generation is raised inside an economy of attention? The greatest tragedy isn't that some black people became wealthy. We should celebrate black wealth. The tragedy is when wealth becomes disconnected from responsibility. Booker T. Washington understood the importance of economic development. Du Bois understood the importance of intellectual development. Neither vision should ultimately produce a black elite whose primary achievement is discovering how to distance itself from everybody else. The purpose of climbing the ladder cannot simply be to pull the ladder up behind you. It has to be to build another ladder. The moral law, this is why I keep returning to Catholicism. Catholic social teaching doesn't tell me that wealth is evil. It asks me what I do with wealth. It doesn't tell me that ambition is evil. It asks me what ambition is serving. It doesn't tell me that beauty is meaningless. It tells me that human dignity cannot be reduced to appearance. And Jesus gives us the question that destroys the entire vanity economy. What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and forfeit his soul? That question doesn't belong exclusively to Black America, but Black America desperately needs to ask it. The housewife test. Here's my test for success. If you become wealthy, who benefits? If you become famous, who becomes stronger? If you become educated, who else gets educated? If you become powerful, who becomes protected? If you become beautiful, what happens to the people who aren't? If you become successful, do you become more generous or merely more expensive? Because the ultimate measure of Black advancement cannot be, look how far I got. It must be, look how many people I brought with me. The final word, I don't hate the Real Housewives of Atlanta. I actually think its greatest value may be that it accidentally became a sociological document. It showed us what happens when black success becomes entertainment. It showed us how easily friendship can become competition. It showed us how capitalism can transform personality into product. It showed us how men and women can both become trapped inside performances of status. And it showed us something we desperately need to remember. A culture can become wealthy and still become spiritually poor. The answer isn't to take money away from black people. The answer isn't to silence black women. The answer isn't to demonize black men. The answer is moral formation. We need black fathers who understand responsibility, black mothers who understand that raising children is more important than raising brands, black entrepreneurs who reinvest, black professionals who mentor, black artists who understand that a microphone is a moral responsibility, black churches that discipline instead of merely entertain, and black men and women who understand that love is greater than lifestyle. Because the most dangerous poverty isn't the poverty of the bank account, it's the poverty of the soul, and no mansion can hide that forever. One angry black MAGA general signing out. Peace.